Hello, everybody. I'm Bill Rabinowitz along with Joey Kaufman here at Ohio Stadium after Ohio State's 54-10 victory over Iowa. And Joey, this game kind of went according to the script that I thought it would follow, which is that Iowa's defense is good enough to frustrate Ohio State's offense, which it did for the first half. But Iowa's offense is so bad that eventually the dam would break, and that is what happened. Tommy Eichenberg got a pick six late in the first half to make it 26-10. C.J. Stroud threw for 4 touchdowns in the second half, and that's how we got the result we did.
Yeah, it's funny because this was not at times an overwhelmingly impressive Ohio State offense. It was during the first half they had trouble pushing the ball downfield. They certainly ran into some fits on Iowa's side of the field, but at the end of the day, the 54 points they scored were the most any team has had against Kirk Ferentz' Iowa team since 1999. Most points Iowa has allowed since 1995. So you would think when you just read that statistic,
right,
it's an overwhelmingly impressive offensive showcase, but it didn't feel like that until maybe the third quarter or so when Ohio State piled it on, because even the start of the second half, the first play, C.J. Stroud throws into the triple coverage trying to fit a pass to Julian Fleming, but it felt like maybe when they finally stopped pressing a little bit, some plays happened.
Yeah, Ohio State had the ball inside Iowa territory. I think took over inside Iowa territory 4 times and kicked field goals on all of them. So Ohio State's red zone offense had been almost perfect this year. 27 touchdowns and 29 red zone trips. Obviously, that wasn't the case today. It took a while for the offense to click, and when I asked about it, Ryan Day said he thinks that a lot of it was because they didn't get a long field in the first half. Everything's on a short, compressed field, and they just didn't get into a rhythm until they got to the second half. And C.J. Stroud said, well, maybe the week off kind of made us a little bit rusty, and took a little time for us to find our rhythm. It says something when you have the struggles they did, and you still scored 54 points.
Which is more than they had against Michigan State. That was a 49-20 win, so you can look at it that way. They did have Jackson Smith and Jigba back for this one, but he was pretty much, I almost said non-factor, but you look at it, but for the most part he was, because he came out of the game during the second quarter. It looked like, at least to our eyes, that he re-aggravated his hamstring. He was running a route, trying to catch up to an overthrown pass by Stroud in the second quarter. And came off the field slowly, was stretching it, was working with trainers. So that's what we saw. And Ryan Day was asked whether he tweaked something after the game, and Day said no. He said that Jackson was on a pitch count. He only was going to play 20-something plays, and that drive was going to be it.
Color me skeptical. I'll just say that. I mean, we'll see next week when they play Penn State how much Jackson Smith and Jigba plays, if he plays. But here's the amazing thing. We were just talking about this. Ohio State lost Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, who were the 10th and 11th picks of the draft, I believe. Jackson Smith and Jigba has not really been a factor this year, and yet they're just spectacular in the passing game. Marvin Harrison Jr., again, he had one catch today where he just fully outstretched and makes the catch. Emeka Egbuka, Julian Fleming had a 79-yard touchdown catch. It's pretty remarkable that a unit can lose what it lost and still produce the way it has.
Yeah, I mean, Jackson Smith and Jigba had 38 total snaps coming into this game, maybe 20-something against Iowa. So you're talking about a guy who's played 2/3 of 1 out of 7 games for Ohio State. That's just such little usage coming into the season. What did you make of Ohio State's defense? Six takeaways, which granted you went against the worst offense in the country.
Awful.
The 6 turnovers?
Yeah.
Some of them were gift wrapped.
2 of them. The first one was, the first play of the game, Spencer Petras. Look, he's a college kid. I don't want to make fun of him. He threw it right to Tanner McAllister. And then after C.J. Stroud's interception to start the second half, that was Iowa's chance to get back in the game, to get the ball around midfield, down 26-10. You score there, you might have a game. First snap, he botches the snap, loses the ball. Ohio State recovers, and that was pretty much all she wrote. So, some of the turnovers were gifts, but look, Zach Harrison was a beast. He made play after play after play today. Tommy Eichenberg, of course, had the pick six. This was a group effort. Steele Chambers made a nice play. Ohio State was again without Cameron Brown. So, but we did see Jordan Hancock for the first time this year. He'd been out all year. Played a few plays. So, yeah, it's a terrible defense, a terrible offense Ohio State played. But 6 turnovers and to just dominate the way they did is impressive.
Yeah, there was never really Ohio State's defense was never at a great risk of giving up any points. They were constantly putting pressure. I mean, the one touchdown that Iowa scored came from their defense when in the first quarter, Joe Evans, their defensive end, Iowa ran a twist play.
Yeah.
Donovan Jackson went with Paris Johnson to block one defender, which left one Iowa defensive lineman to crush C.J. Stroud,
Which he did.
and popped the ball loose, and he recovered it and took it for a touchdown. But Iowa's defense was their best offense.
Yeah, they had one drive near the end of the first half where they drove to about midfield. Other than that, when the starters were in, they did virtually nothing. The one kind of thing that gives Ohio State fans pause, I would say, was their run game. Ohio State ran an average, I think, 2.2 yards per carry. Now the fumble by Stroud factors into that, but look, they did not run the ball well. Let's not kid ourselves here. They did not run the ball well, and as they get tougher games in the season, mainly Michigan and then whatever in the postseason, they're gonna have to run the ball better than they did today.
No, that was a little surprising. They were at full strength on paper with Trayvon Henderson back, Maya Williams back. Both of those guys were healthy, but they didn't really have these gaping holes to run through. Iowa's defense is really sound because there are not a lot of blown plays or blown coverages or their run fits where they're really way out of position. They are stingy and they're always around the ball. But there were some times where it felt like Ohio State had really nowhere to go.
Yeah.
In the run game.
Yeah, I mean, Maya Williams particularly struggled. I think Trayvon Henderson had a few carries that saw some daylight. And I'm not blaming Maya Williams, there's just nowhere to run. And so that's, Ryan Day was asked about it. He said it's not a concern, but we'll look at it. I mean, we'll look at the tape kind of thing. But all in all, this was the kind of performance you want to have against a team like Iowa. You eventually break through, wear down their defense, and you don't allow them kind of gifts on offense.
Yeah, I think we expected at some point in this game that Ohio State's offense was going to have to go through the meat grinder that is the Iowa defense. And they got through it, and then they piled on points. I think you would have, if you're an Ohio State fan, you would have been maybe concerned if that had gone on for the full duration of the game, because they did have some explosive plays in the second half. The 79-yard touchdown pass to Julian Fleming. And this was a defense in Iowa that hadn't allowed a play of 40 yards or more from scrimmage. So they were able to get some of those to break through. And even though it wasn't maybe like that from the opening kickoff to the very end of the game, those plays still ultimately happened.
Well, I think that about wraps it up from here. About covers everything, right?
I think they passed the Iowa defense test.
Yeah, they did.
They
did.
And I don't think there was an Iowa offense test to pass.
No, there was not. There was not. Well, again, thanks for watching. Signing off from Ohio Stadium, Bill Rabinowitz along with Joey Kaufman.